Hi, and welcome to Web3 Unfiltered, the podcast that cuts through hype, buzzwords, and speculations to explore what actually works in Web3, crypto, and emerging technologies. I am your host, Collins Odabi. Today's guest is Dominic Zagara, a crypto regulation expert and founder of DogTag, a blockchain based solution tackling pet travel and health management challenges. Dominic is pioneering one of the most interesting non-financial applications of blockchain today, turning everyday problems into practical on-chain solutions. We'll dive into how he's combining real-world utility with blockchain innovation and lessons from navigating regulatory hurdles, and also why these kinds of use cases could be the next frontier of Web3. Hi, Dominic. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good, Collins. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited to talk about crypto and dog tag, which is one of these crypto things that does cut through the hype. Non-financial, doesn't make you money, but does make your life easier.
All right, I am excited to talk about that with you. So tell me, Dominic, tell me about yourself, or tell us about yourself. What is your story?
Absolutely. So I think my story, especially around dog tag, starts from a very, very young age, long before Bitcoin was invented. When I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And diabetes is a tough disease. A lot of people have it all over the world. And I ended up getting a service dog to help with low blood sugar. And my service dog, Blaze, is absolutely wonderful. He comes everywhere with me. When I was working in New York's Department of Financial Services, he started coming to the office with me. When I go traveling, he comes with me. And crypto, as a global business, it is one of those that requires you to travel quite a bit. So that's the personal side of my story. The crypto side of my story started when I was fresh out of university or college, as we say in America, and I joined IBM as a consultant. I was immediately put on projects that were about tracing cryptocurrency. Specifically, I was looking at bank transactions in the 2010s on behalf of some of the centralized exchanges that were based in Europe. This helped me learn the basic vocabulary of crypto, and we ended up, my team at Promontory, an IBM company, ended up writing the Wyoming, which is a state in the United States, Special Purpose Depository Institution Exam Manual, which was the first regulatory how-to guide for the crypto industry in the US. After that, my boss joined New York's Department of Financial Services, and I followed him there. And we did some wonderful work on stablecoins, issuing guidance that largely mirrors the United States' Genius Act, as well as the blockchain analytics, which help identify both good and bad activity on the blockchain. Now, what those experiences taught me is that blockchain as a open, transparent database can be a trusted source of information and a trusted source of assets. However, there does need to be controls in place. You do need to have verification of issuers of stablecoins, just like if your dog has a rabies vaccination, you want to verify that that rabies vaccine is a valid vaccine. Having a dog and having to go through a lot of the travel, paperwork really opened up my eyes to the non-financial use cases of the blockchain, particularly around travel documentation and vaccine compliance. And I think that dogs have a massive advantage relative to humans because humans have privacy concerns. People shouldn't really want to have their data on the blockchain. It seems like there may be some open questions about your personal identification number, your government ID living on a database that anyone can look at. But for dogs, those concerns don't exist. So I want to use dogs as a low stakes use case of blockchain verification of important records. I think everyone agrees that dogs should get rabies vaccines. And I think we can use the blockchain to expedite government approvals.
Wow, Dominic, this has been well thought out, and I am amazed at what you are building and how you have been able to put it all together. You did mention that you have a regulatory background and a service dog. What was the moment you realized that blockchain could solve a problem in pet travel?
Well, Collins, that's a good question. I think that the the real event that happened was identifying the problem. Before having Blaze, my dog, I had no idea that traveling with a dog had so many requirements and regulations. And coming from the government, where evaluating regulatory compliance was my job, it became really clear to me that there are technical solutions to these regulatory requirements. And it's one of those things where if you're in crypto, you're in Web3, you're in blockchain, you can start to see problems and then think about, oh, the solution to this is the blockchain, or it is crypto, or it's an NFT. And I do think that and you may experience this, as you continue to get more unfiltered in Web3, that there are a lot of problems that can be solved with an open, transparent database.
Okay, nice. I do agree. I do agree. But then I want to challenge your perspective. That's what we do here on Web3 Unfiltered.
I
Now,
love a challenge.
most people associate blockchain primarily with finance. Why do you believe non-financial use cases still matter?
That's a great question, Collins. I think that blockchain does not need to be upfront to consumers. Personally, I don't care if I'm using an internet browser that uses HTTPS standards or IP standards, or that's all abstracted away by internet browser technology. What I want to do is I want to use a DogTag and it's going to feel like a very normal Web 2 app. We'll be sure to put the iOS link in the show notes, but if you download that, other than the verify tab that has a blockchain, you would have no idea that it was a blockchain app. It feels very, very much like a Web 2 app. And the use of the blockchain really is only on the back end. We don't need to educate everyone on what is a wallet and what is an address and what is a smart contract. What we need to do is we need to make this process go faster. The government needs to know about that, and the veterinarians who issue credentials need to understand how to input their data. But the management of the database, whether that database is on AWS, Amazon Web Services, or it's on Microsoft's Azure, or it's on Arbitrum's network, that doesn't matter. It's about simplicity and user experience.
Amazing, amazing. Now you talked about the decentralization of things. You've talked about the use of blockchain infrastructure, but I really want to know: is DogTag a decentralized protocol, or a company using blockchain infrastructure, or probably something in between? Which is it?
So I think it's something in between. I do think the cybersecurity benefits of decentralization are real. And there is absolutely 100% a reason that blockchain has that advantage. However, like DogTag is a facilitation platform for issuers and for verifiers. So the protocol itself is relatively centralized in the same way that stablecoin issuers are centralized. There are, and this might get a little too deep into the weeds of stablecoins. Newbies may have to do some googling, but stablecoins are able to be frozen through their smart contracts. And we see this with Tether's block list, for example, where an address will get added to the block list, and that address can no longer interact with the Tether smart contract. And you need to interact with the Tether smart contract to move Tether tokens on chain. So DogTag is designed to be as decentralized as stablecoin issuers. And unfortunately, for some of the more unfiltered Web3 listeners, that might not be decentralized enough.
Okay then. I get your angle, and you did throw a jab at the non-crypto, should I say the newbies in the crypto space and the Web3 space. Now, for those newbies in the crypto space, or should I say non-crypto users, what is the biggest barrier to adoption amongst them?
That's a good question. I think that crypto is viewed as this like unknown magical token, and I think the lack of understanding about what crypto is in different places is 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 probably the main driver of that. The way I view Bitcoin is probably different than the way you view Bitcoin and the way my neighbor views Bitcoin. And that's okay. I think that crypto adoption is going to happen slowly, and it's going to probably happen through apps like DogTag, where people are going to start becoming blockchain users without even knowing it. Like it's not about buying Bitcoin, it's about building better systems.
I do agree with that. Blockchain adoption will happen gradually, and some people are already using the blockchain currently, and they do not even know it. So I do agree with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with everything you've said so far, you'll be dealing with a lot of health data. Now, health data introduces privacy concerns. How do you reconcile blockchain immutability with data protection, data protection standards?
Well, luckily for me, and this isn't true for some of the human protocols, but for dogs, they don't have data privacy rights and they're not covered under GDPR, they're not covered under HIPAA in the US. So I am not concerned with the data privacy of dogs. There is some data privacy concerns around humans that are very, very real. I have to give credit to the Midnight blockchain, which is working on zero knowledge proof right now, a zero knowledge proof based blockchain that addresses some of those concerns and is looking to become a competitor to some of the largest centralized hospital data providers in the space. That is super, super exciting, and that's really intriguing. I do think that eventually all of the health records that we have are going to be verified on the blockchain. However, I do think that's a few years away. I'm hopeful that things like DogTag and the success of DogTag will lead to uh, better systems around data privacy, more secure data sharing, and more more protection for data privacy that that is that is currently a wild west.
Amazing, amazing, good one. Um, Dominic, if I'm skeptical, I would ask you, why does pet health or travel data need blockchain at all? What breaks if this is just traditional Web2 database?
Yeah, that's a great question, Collins. I appreciate you asking. Let me tell you about my trip to Madrid in November. In November, I decided to go to Madrid, and because I'm diabetic, because I have a service dog, I decided to bring my dog with me. I learned all about the process for getting a dog to an EU country, and the process is painfully antiquated. From the US, I had to go to a US veterinarian. I go to the vet and I get this health certificate filled out that has all this information that is good to have. Rabies vaccination, name of the dog, weight of the dog, breed of the dog. And then this form gets put into an envelope and shipped to Washington, D.C. I live in New York. Washington, D.C. is the capital city of the U.S. And it gets a physical rubber stamp from the US government. Then it gets shipped back to me in New York, and then I go to the vet and pick it up. That entire process has to occur in 10 days. It's painfully antiquated. They're not even using PDFs. They have no digital solution. And while that is not great, it does create opportunity. Creates opportunity to leapfrog over the technology of email, which they missed, onto the technology of blockchain and verifiable credentials. What I would like to be able to do is submit my dog's health certificate with verifiable rabies vaccinations, a verified dog profile that includes his name and his breed and his weight and the other fields that are in the health certificate form. I'd like to submit them. I'd like the government to be able to verify them electronically. And I'd like to be able to do that in a lot less than 10 days without paying for overnight shipping between the home location of the veterinarian and Washington, D.C. This is the problem that we are trying to solve with DogTag. I think it's going to make a lot of people's lives easier. I think we're going to see a lot more dogs going to going on trips, and we're going to see a lot less uh, spread of disease from from rabid dogs coming in or going out of countries.
I think, and I know that with dog tag, you have solved the root problem. You're cutting the timeline of these verifications down to, I could say, a day, and it will make a lot of people's lives very, very easy, just like you said.
That's the hope.
Now, I don't want to say if, when DogTag succeeds and is now a global, um, is now in the global marketplace, what does it prove about the future direction of Web3?
I think the best thing DogTag can do is give blockchain an ability to be verified and trusted by the government. There's this antithesis of crypto that is supposed to disintermediate uh, institutions. And it will, in a way, but the real promise of crypto is a better world with better systems, faster verification, faster transaction costs, less delays. And I want to help accelerate the acceptance of blockchain technology as a verification layer for the world. I think everyone loves their dogs. Dogs are a great way to get started, but I do hope that blockchain does end up verifying lots of information at the speed of light and overall just making people's lives better. That's what we're all trying to do here. We're trying to make the world a better place than how we found it.
I think that these non-financial use cases could extend into academics and also health when it comes to health management for humans, like humans. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, I would love to see that happen. I did brainstorm this idea with some colleagues of mine a few years back, but it just died down. But it's really great to see that it's been applied here in the health management of dogs and also for travels. So it's
I
a
think
good one.
you bring out a very good use case as well with academics. Being able to tokenize transcripts makes a lot of sense. Like that's another record that is issued by an institution. And right now, maybe it's paper, maybe it's PDF, maybe people are emailing it, but it's easy to fake a transcript in email or in PDF, especially in the age of AI. Why not tokenize transcripts and have a verification layer for academic credentials? I think it's absolutely something that can be a real value add for a lot of people, and it can cut down on the time it takes to verify these old school documents. I do think you're really onto something with the academic credential tokenization as well.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much. I do hope to see it come to reality someday. So, Dominic, do you have any final words for our listeners before we wrap it up?
Well, Collins, thank you so much for having me on. If you have a dog, please look up DogTag on the Apple App Store. Please let me know what you think. My email address will be in the show notes. It's dom@dogtagapp.com. And I want to make your life easier. So if there's any way that I can make your life as a dog owner more manageable, I'm happy to do it. And Collins, I really appreciate you having me on. I really love what you're doing with Web3 Unfiltered. I think you are going to be able to really drive the conversation around decentralization and blockchain as a solution to problems, much more than hype.
Thank you so much, Dominic. And that wraps up today's episode of Web3 Unfiltered. Huge thanks to Dominic Zagara for sharing his vision for DogTag and exploring the potential of blockchain beyond finance. If you found this conversation insightful, subscribe to the podcast and share it with anyone curious about the future of Web3 innovation. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep building.